this point, retcons have happened so many times across popular media, it's more rare than a universe doesn't have any changes. They've basically turned into canon events. We can't interfere, but we can judge. The character of Nightcrawler has got quite the family tree to keep up with. His first set of parents were a regular human man named Baron Wagner and the mutant Mystique. While the two were married, Mystique fell pregnant with his child. Wrong! She had an affair with a demon known as Azazel and fell pregnant with his child. This was true for a very long time before it was retconned in November 2023. Turns out Mystique is not Nightcrawler's mother, but instead his father. His mother is another mutant named Destiny. The current official story does still include all the players. Mystique is a shapeshifter and she uses this power to briefly switch her reproductive organs so Destiny could get pregnant. At this point, she is still married to the Baron. The demon is attached to Nightcrawler because when Mystique was altering her body, she needed a base and used Azazel's genetic code. This wasn't a random choice. The two were also having a short affair, but mainly it was because Azazel needed to think he had an heir here on Earth so that he wouldn't ruin everything up here. Destiny received a whole prophecy about it and everything. The prophecy is also the reason why Nightcrawler was abandoned, and to keep everything on track, Mystique shapeshifted a fake pregnancy belly and then had her memories erased afterward. Though this family tree is complicated, it was apparently always the plan. Established X-Men writer Chris Claremont wanted to introduce the concept a long time ago, but the world just wasn't ready yet. But we are now. J.K. Rowling has turned into the retcon queen. Her various social media accounts have become a wasteland of random facts about the Harry Potter universe no one asked for. My favorite being that wizards didn't use toilets until the 18th century. No one asked. I don't think that this was something on anyone's radar of something to ask about. Why did she feel the need to tell us? But one fun fact that did actually have a pretty serious effect on the wizarding novels is Rowling's retcon that the ancient art of divination is meaningless. It's not real. Divination was a full-blown class at Hogwarts and even had final exams. The practice had been used to accurately prophesize many life stories in the Harry Potter universe and even send warnings to the characters. Hopefully, Rowling was referring to the practice as it exists in our world, but her multiple tweets about it hint otherwise. Which, if she really doesn't think that it's a real thing in Harry Potter, that's hilarious. The world is magic. There are dragons and flying broomsticks and people who can turn into rats and wolves and deer, and tea leaves in a cup is where we draw the line? Okay. Wolverine's entire backstory seems to be one retcon after another, but the death of Silver Fox has been one to cause grief for everyone involved. Silver Fox was one of Wolverine's girlfriends, seen for the first time in Wolverine number 10. She met an untimely end at the hand of Sabretooth, Wolverine's arch-nemesis. This death was actually one of the main reasons their hatred and nemesis relationship took off. But then a few years later, in Wolverine Volume 2, she was retcon revived as a Hydra agent. Readers learn Wolverine's tragic memories of her death were fake. There was even a fake cabin he was shown to prove it. But then this whole thing was retconned again in House of M. Wolverine regains the memories of Silver Fox and Sabretooth. It's real this time. The Silver Fox from Volume 2 was thought to have been an impersonator or a clone, or who knows. Star Wars has retcons that have shifted entire storylines, giving Rey Palpatine an extreme side-eye right now, but they also have some that don't really do anything except be mildly annoying to fans. The Sith race lives on a planet called Korriban, or at least it was. In a random out-of-nowhere change, the planet is now referred to as Moraband, and no one knows why. The change happened in 2008 in an episode of the Clone Wars series. Some suggest it's because the name is too similar to the galaxy's capital's name, but having Tatooine and Dantooine is totally fine. Others say it's just changed its name like any other country changes its name over the years, like how East Pakistan is now Bangladesh, something like that. The most agreed upon reason is because creator George Lucas just liked it better. I personally think it's a combo of all three. Still, it's so random to just change a full planet's name with no context. We have another name change in a totally separate galaxy now. We're going from Star Wars to Star Trek. This retcon is a pretty harmless one in comparison to everything else. In the episode Where No Man Has Gone Before, Captain Kirk is shown his future tombstone that very clearly reads James R. Kirk. However, this is not the name we know today. His name is Captain James T. Kirk, the T standing for Tiberius. It was odd as there was never really an official in-universe reason for the change. Out of universe, we know that even though some characters in Star Trek aren't human, the writers are, which means that they sometimes forget things. There is also the fact that the headstone was in the live-action 1966 show, and the middle name was mentioned in the animated series in 1974. That's quite a jump. The name does have a funny origin. Writer David Gerrold was at the Star Trek convention and was asked what the T stands for. He pulled it from a book he happened to be reading at the time and jokingly said Tiberius. face. Needless to say, it stuck. In the novels, we learn that Kirk actually picked the name himself, so maybe he just hated his name and wanted a different one. With 4 origin stories to choose from, it's no wonder the Phantom Stranger has some messy retcons in his history. Just who he is just seems to depend on whoever is holding the pen. The New 52 series is the latest comic set to flip everything around for this character and is now considered the canon. The pre-New 52 origin was that Phantom Stranger was a fallen angel. When Lucifer attacked heaven, the Phantom did not take a side, and as a punishment for that, he was sent to Earth to be alone forever. The post-52 origin is that he is Judas. That's right, the one that betrayed Jesus. Judas was tried and convicted of betraying Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. He was found guilty, didn't see that coming, and his punishment was to wander Earth forever, specifically to see the toll greed takes on man. He is now considered part of the Trinity of Sin, a club made up of him, Question, and Pandora, the one with the box. The 90s for comic books seems to be a lot thrown at the wall to see what sticks. Some of it was amazing, but in the case of Amazing Spider-Man 365, it doesn't always work out. In this issue, the web-slinger's parents are revived from the dead. There was basically nothing even hinting at this, plus Peter's parents had been dead for decades, so truly out to left field here. It wasn't until about 2 years later that we have been tricked. Turns out these weren't actually Peter's parents, but robots sent by Chameleon. They were designed with the intention of getting Peter to trust them and reveal Spider-Man's identity. He chose Peter because Peter takes all the best pictures of Spider-Man, so there must be a connection. He was right. The parent robots were equipped with the memories of his actual parents as well as the ability to simulate human emotion. The memories, paired with the emotional simulation, actually made the robot mom feel genuine love towards Peter and ended up saving his life and identity, and Peter had to watch his parents die a second time. Wolverine is good at a lot of things, especially coming back from the dead. He has everything going for him to not die: indestructible skeleton, remarkable healing factor, but sometimes even that isn't enough. But Wolverine is a fan favorite, you can't kill him. So how is it that he never seems to stay 6 feet under? Well, he travels 6 million feet under and fights the Angel of Death in Purgatory for the right to come back to life. Do you think any other hero does this? Did Silver Fox do this and that's why she came back? I'll never know, and that's okay. This new info came about in 2008 in Wolverine 48, and it was expanded on in Wolverine 58. The issue previous ends with Wolverine brain dead after a fight that ended up with a bomb on the inside of his body, and his girlfriend Amir passing on. Her passing emotionally destroyed him and his will to live, so when the time came to fight again, Wolverine didn't want to, which is why he wasn't waking up on Earth. Eventually though, a series of deaths and deals, Wolverine has clawed his way back to the surface. The X-Force series is known for bringing the original X-Men back together, but it almost looked very different. Jean Grey famously sacrificed herself to stop the Dark Phoenix from returning, and the plan was for her to stay dead. Of course, that didn't happen, and she made a triumphant return in 1985. Her place on the Super Squad originally belonged to a totally different mutant, Dazzler. Dazzler was a result of a partnership with a popular record label. She debuted in Uncanny X-Men, moved on to her own series, and then right as that was ending, she was supposed to join the X-Force. The final panel in her series was Beast asking her to join the team. There were even mock-ups drawn hinting at the fact that Dazzler was going to join the X-Men. But soon, the disco craze ended and Dazzler wasn't as popular as she used to be. The new X-Force comic needed a big female name, and eventually the writers landed on revived Jean Grey. This led to a pretty major retcon. She wasn't dead. A version of her did die, but the real woman was at the bottom of New York's Jamaica Bay. She was preserved by the Dark Phoenix, so it would always have a host. This retcon changed the rep of other beloved characters as well. Cyclops' reputation was tarnished as he coldly abandoned his new wife and child to rejoin the X-Men, something many fans to this day do not appreciate. We are back in the 90s, this time with one of my favorite heroes, Iron Man, or well, the version of him I'd like to forget. It's in Avengers: The Crossing issues that we find out Tony Stark has been under the control of supervillain Kang the Conqueror for years. He has been working at slowly deteriorating the lives of the Avengers. For example, he was the reason that Wasp's finances were destroyed. He also obliterated Quicksilver's nanny. The only person who can defeat Iron Man is Iron Man, so the Avengers do the reasonable thing and travel back in time to get a not yet corrupted Teen Tony. That's how long Tony had been under Kang's influence. Evil Tony realizes the error of his ways and sacrifices himself to save the day. Now young Tony is the only Tony for a little while, and guess what? That whole Kang controlling thing also retconned. It wasn't Kang, but instead a totally different guy named Immortus. Thank you so much for joining me for part 2. If there is anything you think we missed, make your mark on the comment section down below and let us know. This is Juliana signing off. See you later.